Hello friends, today I take up a new topic and the name of the topic is Did Aurangzeb sow the seeds of partition of India? My lesson plan includes why is it in the news, condition of India at the time of accession of Aurangzeb, religious policy of Aurangzeb, revolt against Aurangzeb rule and finally conclusion. So friends, I will take up one by one these points to cover this topic, which is a current topic. So let us start the proceedings. Why is it in the news? MNS, a breakaway group of Shiv Sena in Maharashtra, threatened to destroy the mausoleum of Aurangzeb situated at Kholdabad in Aurangabad district in Maharashtra. ASI, Archaeological Survey of India, shut the mausoleum for 1 week for public visit. Aurangzeb is charged as ruthless tyrant, imposed Sharia laws, brought back the discriminatory jizya tax upon Hindus. The hate against Aurangzeb is increasing day by day. It started when a dispute against the Gyan Vapi Mosque began bubbling in the holy city of Varanasi. In December, Prime Minister spoke about Aurangzeb's atrocities, his terror. Aurangzeb tried to crush culture with fanaticism, describing Aurangzeb as a butcher. The mayor of Agra city said that all traces of him should be removed from public places. Professor Rezvi says that Aurangzeb invoked religion to cover up for his political failures and strengthen his authority. Earlier, Aurangzeb Road in Delhi was replaced by Abul Kalam Road. Condition of India at the time of accession of Aurangzeb. Friends, as you know that during the period of Aurangzeb, the Mughal Empire reached at its zenith. And Aurangzeb expanded Mughal Empire at its highest level by even conquering Assam in northeast, which was earlier called Ahom. In south, Golconda and Bijapur were also conquered by him. And in northwest, the Mughal Empire reached as far as the Hindu Kush mountain. During the period of Aurangzeb and around 1700 AD, historians are of the view that Mughal Empire had the largest economy in the world, even surpassing the Qing dynasty of China. It was around 24% of the total GDP of the world, more than the GDP of the entire Western European countries. 158 million people were residing in the Mughal Empire. The rule of Shah Jahan was the golden age in the field of architecture. So the Mughal Empire was bubbling with economic activities and prosperities all around. Religious policy of Aurangzeb. Friends, as you know that Aurangzeb won the war of succession by invoking the slogan of Islam in danger on the eve of the war at Samugarh, when it was thought that his defeat is imminent and Dara Shikoh had upper hand. But when the war was going on, he gave the slogan of Islam in danger. Like later on, Jinnah, during the period of partition in 1945 to 47, he always exhorted Muslims that Islam was in danger. And this slogan was a ploy to get victory over his opponents. And so, from the beginning, Aurangzeb wanted to convert India into an Islamic country, from a Darul Harb to Darul Islam. And for this purpose, he tried to convert Hindus into Muslims by way of coercion, temptation, allurement, and remission in punishment. Aurangzeb acted more as Muslim than Indian ruler, as our first Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru said. Right-wing politicians like Bir Savarkar accused him as a Muslim zealot. Pakistani historians like Harun Khalid present Aurangzeb as a hero who fought and expanded the frontier of Islamic empire. Muhammad Iqbal considered that the life and activities of Aurangzeb constituted the starting point of the Muslim nationality in India. Aurangzeb is thought to be the Pakistan's self-consciousness that under Aurangzeb, Pakistan's spirit gathered its strength. Imposition of jizya and pilgrimage tax upon Hindus in 1679. And now Aurangzeb started the policy of discrimination against Hindus. He just wanted to reduce the majority of Hindus as second-class citizens in India. Appointment of muhtasibs for the enforcement of Sharia laws doubled the custom duty of 5% on Hindus, while it was just 2.5% for Muslims. Earlier, he totally exempted Muslims from import and export duties. But later on, when he found that Muslim traders were cheating the treasury, then he imposed 2.5% custom duty upon the goods of Muslims. Similarly, he ordered the desecration and destruction of temples of Vishwanath Temple at Banaras in 1669, Somnath Temple in Gujarat, Kesav Rai Temple at Mathura, hundreds of temples in Mewar, Marwar and Odisha. What were the results of the policy adopted by Aurangzeb in the arena of religious matters? Friends, you see that Aurangzeb witnessed hundreds of revolts during his long 50 years of rule, and some of the important revolts were caused by Rajputs, Sikhs, Marathas, Afghans, Satnamis. So these were the important revolts during his long rule, and these revolts depleted the resources of Mughal Empire. Aurangzeb stayed 26 years in the Deccan, and this cost the lives of 25 lakh people, depleted the resources of Deccan and the Mughal Empire. It caused permanent enmity with Marathas. Aurangzeb could not understand the Maratha agitation, the principles of Maratha Swaraj. He executed the son of Shivaji, Sambhaji, thereby alienated and deprived himself a recognized head of Maratha to negotiate with. Ultimately, within 20 years of the death of Aurangzeb, Maratha devastated the Mughal Empire from Bengal to Multan. Revolt of Satnamis, Jats, Sikhs, Rajputs and Afghans. Friends, as you know that Satnamis, who were the worshippers of God Satnam, who tonsured their head, and they had a false belief that the bullet from Mughal army could not hit them, could not injure them. And the revolt of Satnamis arose on account of the tussle between the Mughal Sipais and Satnami peasants on the issue of revenue tax. And this led to the killing of 2,000 Satnamis by Mughal army in the Narnaul Tahsil of Western UP. And this revolt caused immense discontent and dissatisfaction against the Mughal Empire. Again, Jats revolted against the Mughal Empire when Mughal army destroyed the temple of Kesav Rai in Mathura, when Mughal Sipais tortured Jat women, humiliated them, and so Jats under Gokula and later on under the leadership of Rajaram fought valiantly against Mughal Empire. Later on, after the death of Aurangzeb, Jat founded a new kingdom at Bharatpur. Similarly, Sikhs revolted against Mughals when Guru Tegh Bahadur was executed. Guru was hanged because he did not converted himself into Islam, and this alienated Sikhs from Mughal Empire. In 1699, Guru Gobind Singh established Khalsa. He made Sikhs as a warring caste to fight against the injustices meted out by Mughal Empire. Rajputs also revolted against Mughal Empire under the leadership of Durgadas Rathore when Aurangzeb did not recognize Ajit Singh as the true claimant of the Gaddi of Marwar after the demise of Raja Jaswant Singh. And so we see that for the next 20 years, Rajputs of Marwar and Mewar fought valiantly against Aurangzeb. After the death of Aurangzeb, Ajit Singh was made de facto Rajput king of Marwar. So we see that because of the bigotic policy of Aurangzeb and miscalculation, Aurangzeb alienated the allegiance and support of Rajputs who had been the bulwark of Mughal Empire. Similarly, Afghans under Bhagu in 1667 fought against the atrocities of Mughal armies in the northwestern frontier region. Today it is called Khyber Pakhtunkhwa in Pakistan. And this revolt by Afghans continued for the next 20 years. By the mix of diplomacy and the prowess of Mughal army, Afghans could be crushed. So you see that one by one, Mughal Empire lost support of Satnami, Jats, Sikhs, Rajputs and Afghans. And this was the biggest jolt to the strength of Mughals. Annexation of Bijapur and Golconda, which were the Shia states, were further a blow to the Mughal Empire, because after the annexation, the boundary of Mughal Empire reached and stretched so much that it could not tolerate its own weight. And so the decline and downfall of Mughal Empire started when the communication system in those days was very much weak. Conclusion. What conclusion we derive from this lecture? Friends, as you know that by his divisive policy, Aurangzeb alienated the majority of Hindu masses. He alienated the support of Rajputs, who happened to be the leader of the Hindu society. He reversed the policy of Sulh-e-Kul adopted by Akbar. Sulh-e-Kul means conciliation with all. So Aurangzeb abandoned the policy of Sulh-e-Kul adopted by Akbar. Again, the large-scale destruction of temples further created cleavage against Mughal Empire. During Aurangzeb, the number of Mansabdar reached to 11,400. During Akbar, the number of Mansabdars were around 2,000. the proportion of Hindu Mansabdar also reached to around 33%. But these Mansabdars were not given the position of trust as they enjoyed during the period of Akbar. The political leaders of Hindu society, Rajputs, were completely alienated from the Mughal Empire. The religious bigotry and fanaticism adopted by Aurangzeb reached at its zenith during Aurangzeb's period and even after his death. The power of ulema, mullah, Maulvi, Qazi further got enhanced in the statecraft. Even after the death of Aurangzeb, these orthodox elements exercised tremendous power in the Mughal statecraft. And so we find that when Jahandar Shah ascended the Mughal throne in 1713 and he removed jizya, its immediate fallout was that he earned enmity of orthodox religious elements in the Mughal court that led to his removal and he was killed. The trust deficit of Hindus against the Mughal Empire became so much wider with the passage of time that during the 1857 revolt, Sikhs, Rajputs, Marathas, except Nana Sahib, whose pension was stopped by Britishers, and Rani Lakshmibai Jhansi, whose kingdom was annexed by Britishers under the policy of lapse. No Maratha Sardars participated in 1857 revolt. No Sikhs, no Rajputs participated in 1857 revolt because mutineers declared Bahadur Shah Jafar as the emperor of the entire Hindustan. The mutual mistrust and suspicion continued between Hindus and Muslims. So when Congress was established in 1885, Sir Syed Ahmad Khan exhorted Muslims not to participate in the Congress organization, accusing it as a Hindu party. This disunity was exploited by Britishers time and again and ultimately led to the partition of India. So friends, now I am winding up my lecture. If you like my lecture, please share and subscribe my channel AJIS Academy on YouTube and Facebook page. Thank you very much.